Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
First slide.
Wonderful, everyone there. So, okay, let's go going. So the deal is that the webinar essentially is organized to give you some sense what's happening on the COVID-19 and how misinformation about this particular outbreak is spreading in different parts of the world. And I'm pretty sure in Sri Lanka as well, there's a tide of medical misinformation about the COVID. So in the next 1 hour, we will try to go through a couple of key areas which essentially are related to how to identify misinformation about COVID and what are the different types of misinformation. What are the different types of myths which are going across on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, WeChat, or for that matter, TikTok. And then at the end, we will try to see what are the couple of tools which will help us to verify images, misleading fake photos, which are circulated on Twitter, Facebook, or on WhatsApp. And what are these tools and how we can use them in fact-checking and online verification. So the coronavirus is one of the biggest stories of our lives. I think never ever before has there been a story which has attracted and affected so many of us in every part of the globe. There are hardly a country left where we are not seeing actually cases or impact of this outbreak. And we are seeing situation still unfolding. We still do not know the whole scale of the epidemic because it's still unfolding. In Sri Lanka, in India, rest of the world, we still do not have a clear picture in front of us how long it will take to come back to a normalcy, to have a normal life back. As I understand that you in Sri Lanka are under a lockdown. You are under a curfew from the last now, I think more than a week now. And somehow that is the situation in many parts of the world. Because perhaps one of the the reasons we can survive the whole crisis is actually making a social distancing and living kind of isolated from each other for some time. But for journalists, that is not the luxury we can enjoy. So journalists are on the field, reporters are covering the stories, video journalists, photographers are going out meeting, you can say experts, doctors, they're going and visiting hospitals, they're going and visiting the collection centers and the testing lab centers, they're going and attending the press conferences. So that means for doctors and journalists, actually, we are on the ground, we are reporting about the whole situation. And how do we report this story, which is such a big story? And particularly if we are not actually, say, for example, a science reporter or a health reporter. I think that's a big challenge. And what makes our challenge more intense is there's a huge tide of misinformation on internet, online, which is available. So that means before we do anything, there are thousands and hundreds and thousands of pictures and videos circulating on social media. People are watching them, people are consuming that content on their cell phones, on their desktops, and that makes, again, our job very difficult. Our job is not only about telling people what's happening in Sri Lanka, but we have to also tell them that what is circulated on social media or internet is whether that is accurate or fake. So earlier, the role of journalists was to do our own work, create content, write stories, write opinion pieces, do data analysis, and we were happy with that job. And if we find something online, rumor or myth, we say this is not our job. Our job is to do our own work. But as you see globally in the last 4 or 5 years, fact-checking has become an integral part of newsrooms, starting with Guardian, BBC, AFP, everyone now. New York Times, Washington Post, India, we have so many newsrooms dedicated to fact-checking now. So fact-checking is also integral part. If something is getting circulated on WhatsApp in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, in Jaffna, it is your job as a journalist to debunk it and say this is not correct and do a story about it, right? There are full-time positions in many newsrooms now where a person is called fact-checker. I don't know in Sri Lanka yet whether the mainstream organizations there have a designation like a fact checker. Essentially, in traditional newsrooms, the copy editors used to be fact checkers. Right now, we are giving them a different name, but essentially, I think in every newsroom, there are people who make sure that whatever goes for printing or whatever goes online or whatever goes on prime time for that matter is being vetted by different gatekeepers. So, what's happening in India may help you to understand what kind of misinformation is circulating, because we're watching the situation in India very carefully. And that may help you to figure out this could maybe happening in Sri Lanka as well. Like, for example, in the last 2-3 months now, we've been seeing a lot of rumors. Like somebody will suddenly start saying that I heard that 5 doctors got infected. I heard that something happened. And then this slowly starts as a one-to-one communication. Then it becomes viral on social media or on WhatsApp. Like almost everyone, every family in India is on WhatsApp. So, and then it becomes like a source of panic. And then it becomes a source of, you can say, panic buying for that matter. Like when the situation started getting worse in India, there were a lot of rumors that there's no oil in the market, there's no rice, there's no vegetables and everything. The toilet papers are short and whatever, and people start hoarding that. So there was a lot of panic buying. So similar, I'm pretty sure, is happening in Sri Lanka as well. There are a lot of unscientific claims. Like everybody is becoming expert on COVID-19. But it is your job to figure out whether these people have a capacity, have an expertise, have a knowledge, have an education to become the expertise on this disease. And why should you interview them or not interview them for that matter, right? A lot of misconceptions, right? A lot of stuff which has no scientific background, which is just a myth actually. And people start circulating that on social media, on internet. Say, for example, there were a lot of rumors and you can say a lot of content on social media that if you smoke, that can prevent you from COVID-19. Or if you take a hot water bath every day or every after 1 hour, that can save you from the COVID-19. But that's completely like a fake. Like in case of Ebola, which was a major outbreak in Africa a couple of years back, there was a rumor that salt water, the sea water, can cure people from Ebola. And almost everyone in a number of places, they went and took a salt water bath. Whole family, whole town, whole village, whole state. And people ended up in hospitals because that was certainly not a treatment, not a cure. It was just a rumor or myth or something. People believed on that and they went up actually in hospitals. So in India, what's happening also is like a lot of stuff which started from China, because now on internet, we don't have a national boundaries actually. Like what is getting circulated in India, it doesn't remain within India here. It goes across. Like we saw in case of China and India. So what was getting circulated in China on social media was eventually coming to India. Like one video in which the video shows police officers killing people. And then there was this rumor that, Chinese are actually killing people who are suspected of having COVID-19. I'm pretty sure a lot of content which generates from India, you may be accessing that on WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, because internet is a free space. Everybody is there. You're friends with me. Whatever I post, you like that, you share that, it becomes viral in Sri Lanka as well. And in the last couple of months, just 2 months, almost 20 people in India have been arrested by the government, by police, by state governments in different states. Why? Because they've been found sharing misleading videos, misleading content, bogus treatments, or conspiracy theories for that matter, that the whole virus is some secret mission of some secret army in the world or something. And the WHO, which has been leading the whole, you can say, effort to combat the coronavirus, was very clear about the challenge. So they knew this is a challenge of first combating the disease, not allowing it to spread. But at the same time, it was also fighting the misinformation, which the WHO has called infodemic. Any misinformation which was related to this particular outbreak. And that can give you the sense how much the global institutes or organizations are thinking about medical misinformation, how big challenge that is for everyone actually, right? So why is that a big challenge? Because there's too much information available online. Like if you look at on your Facebook page, Twitter, every minute there is an update. Every minute there's a video. Every minute there's a photo. Every minute there's some breaking story about it. So somehow people are not really able to understand that information, right? But who will help people actually with making sense of all this content, making sense of what's happening? Like if everybody is uploading, everybody becomes a journalist or a blogger, who will make sense of all this information? That's why the role of actually the journalist is so critical. Let everybody be a blogger, let everybody tweet, let everybody use the Facebook, be a citizen journalist and all. But then we need a fundamental approach to storytelling. We need to streamline that. That's why you can say traditional way of writing and reporting and gatekeeping is so essential, even with new technologies and new setups and newsrooms and digital formats. We need people, newspaper editors, journalists, reporters on ground. We need somebody who can fact check, who can verify before they share the content with audiences. Because for the first time ever, what's happening is that for the first time ever in the human history, we are not able, like we are producing more information than we are able to consume it. And that really is an unprecedented, creates an unprecedented situation. Because that creates a situation where we're not really able to verify what is truth and what is false. Because there's so much information. Somebody has to go through this information to verify whether this is true or not. And somehow journalists still do not have skills how to go through 100, 200, 1,000 or 1 million tweets in a day and then say, oh, something is getting wrong. Something is getting circulated wrongly in Sri Lanka, in Jaffna, in Colombo for that matter. So we need to have new skills, how to deal with the information which is online, which is circulating on social media, right? So that is key. So let's come back to COVID-19 and see my mistake at the top. But let's try to figure out what do we know about COVID-19 so far, right? We are very clear that this virus started from China, from Wuhan. We are very clear, we know with facts that the China reported to the WHO only on 31st December that they're having a situation, an outbreak. They had no idea what was the outbreak called, but it was only on 31st December that the China informed the WHO that they have an outbreak in Wuhan. And then it was only almost 2 months later that the WHO declared it as pandemic. So now imagine if you are a journalist in Sri Lanka, that you all watched what was happening in China. Your government was also monitoring the situation, what was happening in China. You can do a story. What has your government done since the first case was reported in China? Was there any precaution taken in Sri Lanka in those 2 months? Like say, for example, the direct flights between China and Sri Lanka. How many direct flights were there? How many people came to Sri Lanka during that time without any scanning, right? That may help you to put, the shape to the story. Then we know for sure that the drugs, the disease spreads with human contact. It started with animals. We are not really sure whether the snake was a first source or a bat was a first source or a pangolin was a first source. But it started with animals, got transmitted to human beings, and now it is spreading from one person to another person, right? And we still do not have any official drug which is certified by WHO for this particular disease. And there have been a number of clinical trials, claims that we have done this drug and that drug, but it will still take us at least 9 months to 1 year to have the drug for this particular outbreak. But what we know for sure, and which WHO has been mentioning it again and again, the basic hygiene, like washing your hands almost every hour or every time you do some task, is something which can prevent the infection from spreading, right? But what are the things which we still don't know about the COVID-19, right? We still do not know how long does the virus survive on different surfaces, right? We still don't know actually if a patient is affected with with this particular outbreak and disease, will he be affected again after he recovers? We still do not know who is the patient zero, the first person who got infected with virus in Wuhan, and who was the patient zero in Sri Lanka. You may know that, for example, like who was the first person in Sri Lanka who got infected with this particular disease, right? So we still do not know a lot of stuff about it. We know some stuff here, but we still don't know a lot of stuff. But let's get one thing correct first before we start anything else. And that is the name of this particular outbreak. Because we are seeing a lot of people are using a lot of different names for this particular disease. Some are calling it new coronavirus, Coro. In India, from the last 2-3 days, they're calling it Tablighi virus, and you can understand why, because Tablighi is a sect, a thought of school in Muslims, from where they have a big mosque in India, and somehow a lot of people there got infected and all whatever. Now a lot of TV stations and newspapers have started writing Tablighi virus, which is really dehumanizing, but that's how things work. And unfortunately, in a lot of newsrooms. And then a lot of people, including the President Trump, has called it Chinese virus, which is again extremely, extremely dehumanizing to the Chinese people. So let's get the name correct. So you need to be really clear whenever you write, don't call it anything else except COVID-19. And it is absolutely right to write COVID-19 even in the headline, even on your bulletin in the evening. You can call it COVID-19. You don't need to call it coronavirus or new coronavirus, because the COVID-19 is the official name of this particular outbreak, right? And also let's understand better that COVID-19 is the name of disease. It is not the name of virus. It is the name of disease which is caused by a virus. The virus itself is called SARS-CoV-2, right? It's very important, right? So whenever you write, you have to write a new virus caused a disease called COVID-19, right? You can't call it a new virus COVID-19, right? Very important, simple, but very important. And that AP has kind of adopted this style book throughout their stories. I think number of newsrooms are following the same. Very important. Let me come back to the question of misinformation. What really is the misinformation, right? And how is it different from disinformation, right? Anyone, you got an idea what is misinformation, what is disinformation? You can keep putting your comments on a chat. I'm having a look at that as well. So very important to understand and differentiate between two things. What is misinformation and how is that different from disinformation? One second. Yeah. So misinformation is any information that has been circulated, you can say by innocence, that you circulate something without knowing that this was false, that this was not true, or this was fake. Because you believed something on WhatsApp, somebody shared something with you, you saw this is good, for example, for someone. Like there's a WhatsApp forward saying from tomorrow morning, all the oil depots in Sri Lanka will be closed. So you're sharing that information because you think that will be useful to someone else. That is misinformation. But if you know that this is a misinformation, but despite of that, you're sharing it, that becomes disinformation, and which is more serious because that has real consequences. And in the world right now, we see a lot of misinformation happening, but at the same time, we are seeing people, dedicated army of people, spreading disinformation. So what is the incentive of spreading disinformation? It can be money. In politics, for example, it could be propaganda. It could be influencing voters. It could be deceiving voters, for that matter. In health, it could be, for example, selling particular bogus treatment. That you're creating a content and telling people, if you use this water with whatever, you will get cured. And you are circulating that deliberately, despite knowing that this is fake. But but when people start believing on this information, they will start buying your product, right? So there are different types of misinformation. One is misrepresentation, though it's not completely false, but it's a misrepresentation. A picture which is 2 year old, somebody is sharing it as if it is happening right now. Misleading, wrong context again, factually incorrect, like completely wrong data. Manipulated content, that you copy paste somebody image on something else. Unscientific claims, and there are a lot of them, like anything related to COVID, like you can stop COVID by doing this, COVID by that, but there's no scientific base, there's no research. And then outright lies. People are just faking, they're just spreading misinformation, right? And what is the biggest challenge here? The biggest challenge actually is not that people are spreading this misinformation, right? And people are believing that misinformation. Of course, it's a serious problem, but that is not really the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge actually is that when people consume a lot of misinformation, they lose capacity to trust right information, accurate information. Because they've consumed so much fake information that when you give them a right information, they also treat that as a misinformation, as a fake news. So that is a serious problem actually, and it creates a serious challenge for journalists. Because when people watch too much content on social media, when they read newspaper tomorrow, they say, they dismiss everything. They say, oh, this is also crap because I saw something on a Facebook. I saw something on a video. I saw something on this thing. I don't believe this news report anymore. So that is a serious challenge. So if I come back to India and give you a sense of what kind of misinformation has spread on social media in India, that may give you a sense what is happening in Sri Lanka as well and what could happen there as well. So let's look at a couple of examples actually here again. Like, in India, if you look at, for example, there were a lot of videos related to pigs being burned alive in China. There were a lot of rumors and conspiracy theories that this whole COVID-19 is a CIA war on China. Or for that matter, this whole disease outbreak is funded by the Bill Gates, like all kind of conspiracy theories for that matter, right? There were a lot of bogus health advisories, including in Sri Lanka for that matter, that somebody is circulating a white paper. There's a signature of someone on that paper who calls himself a doctor, but nobody knows who that doctor is, which hospital, which department of healthcare he's associated with, but he will have some 10 points, bullet points as an advice for people that if you follow this, you can get a treatment. Let's go by one, couple of cases. For example, garlic. So there were a lot of rumors in India that the garlic can cure COVID-19 patients, but absolutely false, absolutely wrong. Though garlic is good for health, it has advantages for a healthy life, but it is not a treatment or a cure for COVID-19. But it was viral across India. Not in India, I think across the world. In Hong Kong, a woman ate 1.5 kg garlic, presuming that it will cure her from the COVID. And she ended up in a hospital because somebody has to remove that much of garlic from her stomach. Cow urine, for that matter, in India, or cow dung. There were a number of Facebook posts, social media posts, videos that cow urine or cow dung can cure COVID-19, but completely false, baseless, actually harmful. Or what about you take hot water bath? Again, there's no scientific evidence that if you take bath, though it's good to keep yourself clean and maintain hygiene, but it can't prevent you from COVID-19. Whether the hot weather can prevent COVID-19. So there were a lot of content circulating around again on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, but again, no scientific evidence for that. Then meat consumption, for that matter. Like if you consume more meat, it can cause COVID-19. But absolutely no WHO guidelines for that. They said you can absolutely have a meat, you can have a mutton and all. You need to boil it well and cook it well. That's it. Like as you do in a normal circumstances. But then that didn't stop things. Like in India, as in Sri Lanka, the chicken sales have gone down because some people, it's circulated on social media that if you have chicken, that may cause COVID-19. And people stop eating chicken. And chicken, 1 kg of chicken in India was some 180 rupees 2 months back. Today it's selling around 80 to 90 rupees. So the chicken farmers, the millions of chicken farmers in India are suffering huge financial losses because of rumors. Then this map became viral all across the world. And it started with, I think, a Facebook post saying that this map shows how Wuhan became a reason of this particular spread, of the spread of this particular disease, because this shows how people from Wuhan traveled all across India, all across the world. And then everybody started showing this actually on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere. But then again, it was absolutely a misleading map. It had nothing to do with the Wuhan. It actually shows the global air traffic. It has nothing to do with how people traveled from the Wuhan. Then again, having a salt water as a gargling exercise can prevent COVID-19. But again, misleading, no scientific evidence. And these were very popular. Imagine, somebody getting it on a WhatsApp, he will start gargling since morning till evening with salt water, and that may create some health issue for that person. But so there's no scientific evidences for all this misinformation. But this is becoming very viral. Then the photos, very graphic photos, they keep circulating on social media, saying, look at the hospitals in, say, for example, Jaffna. That this is the photo from Jaffna, how doctors and people are dying in wards, and the healthcare is in terrible situation and all whatever. How are you going to verify these photos and videos? So that is the challenge the journalists are going to face and already facing. So we have a lot of responsibility how we can debunk all this misinformation. You can look at the website, which is one of our, the platform, which is called Health Analytics Asia. So we have collected almost 100 examples across the world which are circulating related to COVID. Then you can see whether something similar is getting circulated in Sri Lanka. You can tell people, oh, this is fake. Have a look at this website. It has already been debunked. So there are a lot of other websites, like the AFP runs a very dedicated fact-checking on COVID, a number of organizations around the world. So look at those websites, see what they are doing actually, whether similar content is getting circulated. So the key is, and that is a fundamental part of being journalist, or that's a critical part of journalism, is when you come across anything similar content which we discussed, your job essentially is, before you do anything else, is to verify. Don't share anything before you are absolutely clear that this is true. Because the essence of journalism is in the process of verification. That there has to be a process of verification before you create any content. And why does this matter, for example? Why is fact-checking so important? Like, why are we so much talking about it? Why it is important? Because it really matters. Like, look at Iran for that matter. There was a rumor that if you have alcohol, that can cure or prevent COVID-19. And people started having alcohol, actually a poisonous alcohol. And I'm saying 90, number has reached 190 people died in Iran by consuming alcohol, right? So it's a serious matter. People really believe on these rumors, on these myths, and they adopt because they want to be protected. There's a lot of panic. Everybody wants to take care of his family, and he can go to any extent to protect his family. In India, for example, Kerala is our most educated state. But last year, in 2 districts of Kerala, the whole immunization stopped. People stopped vaccinating their kids because there were WhatsApp forwards which were fake, which essentially were telling people that, if you get your kids vaccinated with this particular vaccine, it can harm your kids. And the parents stopped getting their kids vaccinated. So there's an impact. That's why we're talking about fact checking, because fake news has real life consequences. It has a real world harm. Coming back on WhatsApp, Very easy actually on WhatsApp to understand what's happening. Like it doesn't really need a rocket science. And WhatsApp has also come up with a couple of features now which allows you to figure out what's happening on WhatsApp. Like it's easy to now to figure out whether the message somebody is sharing with you is an original native message or it is a WhatsApp forward. And if it is a WhatsApp forward, the first indication is that this is not something your friend has shared with you. This is something your friend has received and he has shared with you. So whenever you receive any WhatsApp forward, never share it with anyone unless you verify it, unless you're clear about it. And we have seen in the last 2 months in India, the WhatsApp was flooded with the fake news about the COVID-19. So much so that there was a WhatsApp post after 22nd of March that, which was going around that NASA satellite videos, are starting live telecast, which shows that COVID-19 is retributing in India after we started doing that lockdown and people starting having that clapping and all whatever. And which was completely fake. But then a lot of people believe that because you can just use name of NASA. You can copy paste logo of NASA and create a banner or use a logo of any prominent organization and call it something very technical. Like in this picture, for example, on a WhatsApp, they called it NASA's SD13. And there was nothing like NASA's SD13. But somebody created this WhatsApp deliberately, disinformation. So this is a case of disinformation. They deliberately created with this particular WhatsApp post to mislead people, right? And you can call it SD4, SD19 Sri Lanka, SD9 Colombo, and share it in Colombo, and people can fall for it. Then the question is, who falls for the fake news, right? I think almost everyone falls. Like all of us, like that's how humans are made and conditioned, that we believe that our first instinct is always to believe, to trust. So whenever we see something, we hear something, we trust that this is true. That's how we are made actually. But I think that we have to learn how cops work for that matter, how lawyers work for that matter. So they learn in the process of their education how to raise questions, how to be skeptical about everything. And that's how journalists are also trained actually, that we should not trust everything which comes our way. We should learn how to raise questions on everything. We should learn how to, for example, put spotlight on issues. And that's very important because otherwise, sometimes we all want to believe that this information is true. For that matter, like somebody is saying alcohol can cure you. Or you say, this is fantastic, let me have a glass of wine actually. That's what happened in Iran. People started having wine, too much of wine. 190 people died. Or sometimes the information is too important that you think if I wait for this information, maybe my rival TV, my rival journalist will do the story. Like recently, there was a information that Trump is infected with the COVID-19, and it became viral, and nobody kind of tried to verify that information. And the whole fake news started from China on their messaging app, which is called WeChat, which is like a WhatsApp of China. So sometimes we want to believe everything we see. Sometimes information is too important that we don't want to wait, right? Say, imagine if something goes wrong in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, in Jaffna, saying that a top official of the country or a top minister of the country or a top politician of the country is infected, and suddenly it becomes viral on social media. What will you do actually? Will you write the story or will you verify and call the officer and his office or someone and try to verify whether that information is true or not? So I will discuss quickly actually one tool, and I'm pretty sure some of you may have heard about it before, which can help you to verify images, not videos, but photos. So it's a very useful tool, and you can, we have shared a tip sheet with our colleagues at IREX. You can take that tip sheet. We have given a detailed briefing how you can use it. And the tip sheet is, that the tool is actually called Google Reverse Image Search. You can write it down, and maybe you can also try it later how to use it. It's very easy. I can try if I can show you how to use it, but I just want to make sure that I don't lose my presentation here. But then this is something which is very useful. So how this tool helps you, if I, and Shivali may help me, let me go back. Let me show you, for example, let me share my screen again. And this is my kid here, but that's okay. And Shwali, can you see my screen now with Google?
Yes, sir, we can see it.
So all of you who are there, you can try, if you are in front of computers and all, you can, you have seen this page all the time, right? You search information on this page all the time. So if you go here, there's a button besides the Gmail, which is called Images. If you click on this one, right? So I'm doing it again. So this is Google. You just go to google.com, go to Images here at the top. And when you come here, there's this particular icon here. Go to this icon. It shows you this box. It allows you to open the URL. You can copy paste the URL here, or you can upload an image. Say, for example, you got something on a WhatsApp, or you got something on a Facebook. Now you can download that image and keep that image on the desktop, on somewhere on your laptop, and then you can upload that image here, right? You can see, if I go back here, there's an upload an image icon. You click on that, it shows you choose file. So I'm choosing a file here. Just give me a minute. And I'm trying to verify any picture, for example, which I have received. Yeah, 1 second. I'm just, yeah. So there's a, say a picture, for example, this particular picture. Yeah, so this was a picture of Mahatma Gandhi with a woman. And it was circulating on social media that, you know, the Gandhi had a romantic relationship with a lot of women, including with this woman, right? But then when we, for example, when I went to this tool here, I clicked on this particular icon. I went to upload an image. I went to choose a file. And then I went to my desktop and I clicked on this picture, which I want to verify, which is a picture of Gandhi with a woman. And that picture is coming here. And then you can see, if you can see my desktop, for example, right? Right, you can see the picture here. If you can see the Gandhi with this woman, which was a viral picture. But below it is actually the original picture, which was the Nehru with the Gandhi. But somebody photoshopped the picture. They removed Nehru, who was India's first prime minister, from this picture, and they copy pasted the picture here of this particular woman with Mahatma Gandhi. So this tool will help you. There are a lot of examples, for example, where this tool can really help you to use Google reverse image search. So I am going back to the presentation one, and then, yeah. So this tool is called Google Reverse Image Search. So it will help you in a couple of ways, very simple ways to remember. Like, what is the first thing we do as a journalist if something comes to us, some information comes to us? Our first question is this information related to the current incident or event? That is the first question we should always ask when anything comes to us. Is this video or photo which is coming to me or shared with me, is it really related to current situation, or is this an old picture? If it's an old picture, then I can automatically say this is fake, this is misleading, this is not correct. So the Google reverse image search allows you to search pictures and search pictures by date. So I will recommend you, when you get time after the webinar, you all should go check Google reverse image search and try uploading different fake pictures in Sri Lanka by different dates and see whether they're related or not. So that is actually that is the really key part of this tool. That's how this tool can be helpful. So you can easily say that this image is old or if it is related to the current situation. You can also tell what context this image was used actually when you go to Google reverse image search, because you will see if it was like what happens on internet is that an image from Brazil or China or Russia is picked and shown as if this is from some part of Sri Lanka. But when you go to Google reverse image search, you may find the original source from Brazil, from China, from Russia. Then you can tell your viewers and audiences that this picture is actually from China. This is not from Sri Lanka. So that's very important actually. Sometimes to have a better results, maybe you can crop a picture a bit and remove some part of it if you only want to focus on a one particular segment of the picture. I will show you how you can do that actually, right? So there was this particular video picture which went viral across the world, and the story was that an Italian man who has lost his entire family because of coronavirus finally committed suicide from jumping from the hotel in Italy, and it became viral. So how can we verify this now? Like if you, like say, imagine you got a picture, similar picture in Colombo or in Jaffna, there's somebody sharing a picture with you saying somebody committed suicide in Jaffna because he lost everything, whatever. So how will you verify this picture? You can again go to the Google reverse image search and upload this picture and then check with different dates. So when we did search on this particular picture, what we found was that, so we did the Google reverse image search, uploaded the picture again by doing the same process which I showed you, and then we found out there were a lot of mentions on websites, different websites about this particular incident. And in fact, the whole incident was actually from Spain, where a person committed suicide for whatever reasons. And it had nothing to do with the COVID-19. And because the post was dated 27th of December, when there was no coronavirus case in Italy at that time. And the picture was actually from Spain, but it was uploaded and shared as if the things are going, this person was from Italy. Why Italy? Because naturally everybody believed this picture because the situation in Italy has gone terribly bad in the last 1 month. A lot of people have died there. But so you can go and upload this picture on Google reverse image search and fact check this picture and fact check any other picture which you receive. Then there are other engines, search engines as well. Like there's a Yandex, which is very popular Russian search engine, and it works very well if the photo is from circulating from and originated from Russia or Central Asian countries. Or Baidu, which is Chinese search engine. Like if there's something coming from China, you can search, go to Baidu and then search it. TinEye, which is again a very strong image search tool. So you can verify all these, images and content on these different tools actually. And there's another one which is very useful. It's called verify metadata. When you have to, metadata is a data which is inside the picture, and the tool is called MetaPace. So if I stop again sharing my screen here. Shivali, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see MetaPace.
I will take a 1 minute break. I will get my water and then I'm back in 1 sec. Hi, sorry. So there's a tool called MetaPace. And what is MetaPace is extremely useful tool to figure out a lot of things about pictures. Now, if you go to metapace.com and then just go here, there's an option here. Either you can put a URL here and then search a picture. And either you can go to this option here, which is called or select. You click on select. And if you have any picture which you want to verify, and that is on your desktop, on a mobile phone or somewhere stored in your archives, you can upload that picture and then check what that picture really tells you. Like for example, I'm uploading my picture along with my kid. So when I upload that picture, MetaPiz tells me if my internet is okay. Yeah, so picture is uploaded here. You can see the picture here, it is uploaded. And now the MetaPiz tells me a lot of things about this picture. It tells me that the picture was taken with the Apple iPhone 7, which is my cell phone, right? So it tells me that it was taken with a particular camera, with a particular cell phone. It tells me that it was, it had a focal length, it had a 25 ISO speed for that. It also tells me when was this picture taken. Like it was taken on 12th of April 2018. So if somebody circulates a picture and sends you across to you on your WhatsApp, on Twitter or something, you can tell him, hey, this is not the picture related to the COVID-19. This is an old picture. I have fact-checked it on MetaPiz. So you should note down this and try and experiment with this tool. Some pictures may not actually come on this picture, but they have a huge collection of millions of pictures which you can check on this particular tool. And let me go back and show you the last couple of slides so that we can conclude. If you have any question, we have already, we have 5 more minutes to kind of shift through everything. Just give me 1 second. So the key is here, how to get your story right. Because it's one thing if somebody is circulating a misinformation and then you're debunking that, which is your responsibility as well. But what if you write something based on social media posts and that is fake or misleading? The first thing what will happen is that you may lose your job. The employer may sack you, or you may get arrested for circulating fake news. In different countries, there are different laws. So it's extremely, extremely important that you get your story right before you publish it. Make sure your facts are watertight. The virus is still unknown. We still do not know a lot of things about the virus, about the outbreak, about how it circulates and all. So make sure that you have key people backing your story. Like you have a court of health ministry official, a doctor, a prominent scientist, a prominent public health expert, or a virologist, epidemiologist. You have key people quoted in your story, right? That is really important actually. And remember, not all figures are accurate. Not everything which is put on social media or shared is actually accurate. So pay special attention to numbers, data, figures. Verify whether these numbers are right or wrong. Somebody says 4 people are killed here, 4 people died here, 20 people got infected yesterday. Who is giving these figures? What is the source of these figures? Right? So get the source very clear. And when you write the story, pay proper attention to attribution. Who has given you this data? Have you obtained data from number of sources and collected it? Or somebody has given you an Excel sheet or a Word file or PDF file and you have downloaded that and you have collected that number from one single file. Very important. But more than that, what is happening is also when there's so much information that you feel sometimes lost because you're saying how I'm going to read an Excel page or file of 200 pages, how I'm going to make sense of that information. Is impossible. How I'm going to read so much and understand. But remember, the key here is making sense of numbers, making sense of figures. And what does this information really mean for the public? Like you're spending whole day, whole week on a story. But what is the use of this story? How is it helping people anyway? Right? So recently in India, what we did was that when the virus started spreading across the country, we quickly mapped the facilities which has been allocated by the government of India, where people will be tested for the COVID-19. So we created a map of India on which we listed these facilities. You can see we have a number of facilities across India, right? I'm pretty sure there are facilities in Sri Lanka as well in different areas. And so what we did with this, just give me 1 second. Yeah, I think just 1 second. Yeah. So what we did with this story was simply we showed on an Indian map where all these facilities are available. So within a week, actually, within I think 10 days, I'm saying 1.6 actually, it has crossed 2 million views within 10 days because people are desperate for accurate information. So in Sri Lanka as well, what you can do is that you can figure out different data and then you can start trying connecting those data figures and trying to making sense of that data for a common people, for your readers, for your audiences. Because it is very important that you find pattern rather than events. Like 2 people died here, 2 people got infected here, 2 people got infected here. It's a good story, but it doesn't really say anything unless you start mapping these different cases and doing a bigger story and seeing a bigger picture. So you need to find patterns in Sri Lanka. Which section of population is getting affected in Sri Lanka? Which area is getting more affected? Why? Right? So these are very important questions. Like which industry in Sri Lanka has suffered the maximum loss, financial loss because of this outbreak in the last 1 month? Like we recently checked, because we cover situation across Asia, we recently checked the most popular 25 airports in China. And then we try to understand how much air traffic loss was reported from different Chinese airports. And it was a mind-blowing, to be honest, to see how much travel industry has suffered because of COVID-19, because you can see a sudden drop all across 25 busiest airports in Sri Lanka. Then just last week, another story was based on, because this particular disease is circulating because of wildlife. So we thought, let's look at a situation. Why is it happening that the wildlife has become such a big source of viral diseases, right? Then we tried to figure out how much trade, legal trade, is happening in the world related to the wildlife. And is this regulated? And what are the dangers there? Like in Sri Lanka, for example, I don't know whether the wildlife is legal or illegal in Sri Lanka. If it is legal, can you check out how much trade Sri Lanka does with the wildlife? Because wildlife is one of the key reasons for these viral diseases. How much legal trade has Sri Lanka done with the rest of the world in the wildlife? And if not, if it is banned in Sri Lanka, how much illegal wildlife? I'm pretty sure there will be a wildlife trade there, either illegal or illegal. And then you can raise question, who is responsible for this? So you have to think stories differently so that your audiences are more informed, right? And you need to really work hard to choose your experts carefully. There are a lot of people who are coming on TV, who are coming on newspapers, talking as experts on the disease, but they're not experts. They don't know much about it. So you need to figure out in Sri Lanka, for example, who is the key person in Sri Lanka who is releasing the figures? Who is the topmost doctor in Sri Lanka right now who is briefing the media on this particular disease? Has there ever been a research on viral diseases in Sri Lanka? Wildlife and viral diseases in Sri Lanka? Where are those researchers? Can you speak to them and get their input? Can you speak to the virologist? Because right now the disease is a viral, so you need to speak to more virologists, not really cardio, like people are, like you can't go to, say, a dentist to speak about this particular disease. You need to figure out who are the best virologists in Sri Lanka who can speak on this particular disease. Who are the best public health experts, right? And you can always check the sources, the global sources, for example, like WHO has a very dedicated, up-to-date website on COVID-19. They're uploading it every hour with new figures, with new data. Johns Hopkins has a very dedicated map on the global cases. Food and Drug Administration in the US is very effective, actually. If you're looking something in India, you can look at the Ministry of Health of India. If you're looking for India, you can also check the ICMR, which is a leading research organization in India. In Sri Lanka, you can check the Ministry of Health website or the different health authorities in different provinces, right? WHO also has a WhatsApp number, which is very useful. You all need to save this number on your phone and just write hi, and you will get a response from WHO. What are you looking for? Are you looking for numbers, press releases, videos, statements? What are you looking at? There are different numbers given. You just put that number on WhatsApp, within a minute, you get automated answer, right? These are all very useful tools actually you can use in the next 1 or 2 months to inform your audiences. But I think the key is, I think this is fundamental, that you need to protect yourself, because this disease is really infecting people, is spreading, still spreading. You're going out as a journalist, photographers, touching a lot of stuff, meeting, interviewing people. Because at the end of the day, we know there are important stories to tell, but there's no story worth a human life. There's no story worth your life. And if you're an editor, it's your responsibility to protect your staff, to make sure they understand how this virus is spreading, how they need to be careful. And it is also a responsibility of your newsroom to provide at least the basic protective gear, protective equipment, the mask, the gloves, at least some basic cover, so that you are not infected with this disease. Because imagine the photographers, for that matter, or videographers, they keep their equipment down on the floor, then they carry it on their shoulder. So the moment you keep it on your shoulder, you're infected. So you need to really take care of all these things, all these basic precautions to stay safe while covering the situation.